come to our forum by the deans from the STEM discipline. Yeah, so let me briefly mention who are on the panel. The first will be Professor Zuowei, the Vice Provost of Graduate Education. And he is a very well-known mathematician, especially for mathematical contributions to the foundation of approximation and wavelet theory. And then we also have Professor Weizhu, the Vice Dean from the Faculty of Science and Professor of Mathematics. He's well known for his contribution to numerical methods and analysis for scientific computing. And then we have Professor Biplab Sikdar. Biplab is the Vice Dean from the Faculty of Engineering, and he's an expert in security and privacy, especially for Internet of Things and cyber physical security. Then we have Professor Pratik Saxena, Assistant Dean from the School of Computing, joining us. Pratik is also an expert in computer security. And lastly, we have the Professor Heng Kiat, Assistant Dean in the Yonglin School of Medicine. And he is an expert in cardiovascular genomics. And I am Wong Limsoon. I'm the director for the Integrative Sciences and Engineering program. I will be chairing this panel. Let me first ask the Vice Deans from the 4 major schools to each spend about 10 minutes to introduce their PhD program to the audience. Maybe we start with Weizhu.
Okay, thank you, Limsoon, for the nice introduction. So this is Weizhu from Faculty of Science. And on behalf of Faculty of Science, a warm welcome all of you to attend this event. Oh, okay, this first slide. You know, Faculty of Science is located at the main campus of NUS, which is Kent Ridge campus. And the mission of FOS is to provide quality education, foster the spirit of enterprise, and conduct leading-edge research and advance knowledge in science technology for the benefit of Singapore and the global community. So the Faculty of Science began in 1929 as a single department in the Raffles College, so offering courses in chemistry, mathematics, and physics, and housing 10 students at that time with 3 staff members. Since then, it has evolved into one of the largest faculty in the National Singapore, with 8 departments, housing about 370 plus academic and teaching staff, and 380 plus research staff, and over 100 administration staff. So we have Department of Biological Sciences, Chemistry, Food Science Technology, Mathematics, Pharmacy, Physics, Statistics and Data Science, and also Li Guangqian Natural History Museum. The Faculty of Science offers a wide range of degree programs with near 7,000 students, of which about 4,700 are undergraduate students and 2,200 are graduate students. So in education, we open pathways to allow our students to broaden as well as better integrate. So with what they learn in their classes and to apply this to the workplace, to help them to apply this not to the workplace, and to help them to become a lifelong learner. And our science education must move the students so that merely knowledge, acquiring knowledge, to so-called creating new knowledge, and from application to so-called self-discovery and innovation. So we have like over 1,300 coursework students and over nearly 900 graduate students, including PhD and master by research. So our graduate program have 3 major parts. One is PhD. We'll have 7 programs in PhD at FOS from the 7 departments, academic departments, and 7 master research from 7 departments. And also we have 12 master coursework program from the 7 academic departments. So for more information, you can refer to our Faculty of Science webpage, or you can use this QR code to go to the web to get all information there. So for our PhD program, we have PhD in biological sciences, in chemistry, in food science technology, in mathematics, in pharmacy, and in physics, and also in statistics and data sciences. You can get all information from our faculty webpage, the admission requirement, graduation requirement, and our students' profile. So under the strong support of FOS and the Ministry of Education of Singapore, FOS offers a variety of different scholarships for our PhD students, including NUS Research Scholarship, the President's Graduate Fellowship, NUS Industry-Related PhD Scholarship, NUS Tianjin PhD Scholarship, NUS Suzhou Research Institute Scholarship, and also the Sikdar Scholarship. There are also other faculty level scholarship, and also you can also apply some other university level scholarship. You can find all information from web pages there. Okay, here I'd like to briefly say a few words about this PhD program of this Tianjin U and NUS Joint Institute at Fuzhou. So this is a joint PhD program offered by NUS and Tianjin University at Fuzhou. They have PhD in chemistry, physics, and also chemical and biomolecular engineering. Like they do some for electronics and optoelectronics, manufacturing, and energy material and catalysis. It's a NUS PhD degree. Students will get a PhD degree at NUS. The coursework by NUS and Tianjin U PIs. And year 1 and year 4 at NUS, and year 2, year 3 at Fuzhou RI in China. So scholarship including tuition waiver plus monthly stipend. You can get information from the webpage. Okay, so here I showcase you some research achievement and also our facility from FOS for our PhD training. So the first part is the number of research publication in so-called from the Web of Science for researchers for publication from Faculty of Science last 5 years. You can see the number of publications are increased with these numbers. And also we show here number of articles in selected top journals by NUS research in the last 5 years. For example, we have 43 papers in Nature, 41 in Science, and 24 in Cell, and 137 in PNAS called Proceeding of the National Academy of Sciences of the USA. So this is a newly the new White Science building. It's just finished, I think, last year. This advanced building and research environment for our research in Faculty of Science. So they try to do a new facility for laboratories to conducting the new generation of cutting edge research in here. And the ranking of FOS, like in this QS ranking, is always all the areas in Faculty of Science are very top, number 1, number 2 in Asia, and very high in the world. And I think this ranking is increased year by year. Okay, so I also show some job placement of our PhD students at FOS. Some of them, they are kind of jobs, academic jobs in University of Minnesota at Twin City, USA, McGill, Canada, EPFL, Switzerland, University of Edinburgh at UK, and National University of Singapore, Peking University, Tsinghua University, University of Science and Technology in China, Fudan University, Zhejiang University, and also Universal Science and Technology of Hong Kong. And they also go some research into like A-STAR in Singapore, like Agency for Science, Technology and Research, and also like China Academy of Sciences. So some students that go to the R&D in industry, for example, in finance, in AI, in internet company, food science, semiconductor, supply chain, chemical, and medicine. Okay, so for more information about Faculty of Science, you can go to our Faculty of Science graduate web page, and you can here's a QR code you can scan and find more information. If you're interested to apply, you're welcome to apply from this online application system. And you can follow us at this Facebook and also this so-called WeChat. We have our official FOS WeChat account called Friends of Science or 科学之友. Okay, last but not least, welcome you to apply NUS. We are looking forward to see you at FOS at NUS for your graduate journey with us. Thank you.
Thank you, Weizhu. We will hold a question for now, and let us also introduce the next discipline. I think that will be Biplab for Faculty Engineering.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much, Limsoon, for the invitation. I hope my slides are visible to everybody.
I think so.
Okay, great. Hi, everyone. My name is Biplab. I'm the Vice Dean in charge of graduate programs at the Faculty of Engineering, and it's my pleasure to welcome all of you to today's session. And I'll just quickly walk you through some of the highlights of the Faculty of Engineering and what we have to offer in terms of our graduate programs. And in particular, I'll focus more on the research part of our graduate programs. Right? So just to give you a brief idea about our size and what we do and so on. So actually, the Faculty of Engineering is one of the biggest faculties within NUS. And if you look here in terms of our the size of our postgraduate students, that's roughly about 1/4 of the number of postgraduates within NUS. So we're roughly about 2,700, and amongst them about 1,000 are PhD students and another 1,700 are master's students who are doing it by coursework. We actually have a fairly large faculty. We have about 340 academic staff. So these would be professors, assistant, associate, and full professors. And they're also supported by a large number of research staff, and these would include people like postdocs and so on. We do have 8 academic departments, and 7 of them actually offer graduate programs. Every one of them would offer a PhD and a master's by research program. And some of the departments would offer more than 1 Master of Science program. So we have 12 MSc programs. And in addition, we have about 8 joint PhD programs with other universities over school and so on. In terms of our graduate degrees, we have the coursework ones, which are the Master of Science. And by research, we have 3 different programs. We have the Master of Engineering. So this is coursework. So by research means you do some coursework, but then you spend a considerable amount of your effort on a thesis. And here you could do a master's, you could do a PhD. And we also have a program which is called the Engineering Doctorate. And the rough timelines are, a master's by research would take somewhere usually about 2 years, while the doctoral programs would take about 4 years. And I'll go into a little bit more details about the difference between the engineering doctorate and the traditional PhD program. So these are the 7 departments that offer our research-based programs. So they include biomedical engineering, chemical and biomolecular engineering, civil and environmental, electrical and computer, industrial systems engineering and management, material science and engineering, and mechanical engineering. All of these are actually very well regarded internationally. And if you look at our standing in some of the world rankings, so we are usually in the top 10 or somewhere nearby, whether you're looking at Times Higher Education or QS World. And in particular, QS World ranks 4 of our programs in the top 15. And even within the Shanghai ranking, 8 of our disciplines come within the top 20 of the rankings. So just a little bit about the program details. So if you look at our PhD program, so it's a mix of coursework and research thesis. So even though the overwhelming focus here is on the research thesis, so you would do about 6 modules or courses. There is a requirement of a graduate seminar. So in this case, you'd be expected to present some seminars of your own. And in addition, attend a lot of seminars, actually about 20 from other researchers. So sort of build up your breadth and depth in the area of research that you're doing, also make you comfortable with, the idea of presenting your research results. Then you would have a doctoral qualifying exam and followed by your thesis. So you'd write the thesis and defend the thesis. MEng is similar in terms of its flavor, though the coursework requirement is a little bit lower. And also the scope of your thesis may not be as extensive or in-depth. You may not go so much as a PhD thesis. On top of that, we have a special program at the doctoral level, which we call the engineering doctorate. And the difference between PhD and NHD is that within the engineering doctorate, the research problem that you work on has a much more industrial focus. And in most cases, the people who join this particular program, they're actually full-time employees in a particular company. And then the research problem that they work on as part of their degree is sort of defined based on what they are doing in the company and based on the needs of their company. And even in their coursework, they're split half and half. Half of their coursework is traditional, let's say, related to the department that they're working on. And the remaining half is focused on technology management, right? So there's a lot of focus on that. And these are some of the coursework-based programs, just in case somebody here was interested in that. So I'm just highlighting. So we have 12 of them. And even if you're interested in something shorter term, maybe a bite-sized few modules to learn about the new technology, we also have a lot of graduate certificates in a wide range of areas. While within engineering, we almost cover every research topic. I just wanted to highlight some of the topics that may be more relevant in today's context. So we have large groups and working in urban solutions and sustainability. So these are sort of related to themes that Singapore pays a lot of focus on based on our geopolitical situation and our economic outlooks and our economic needs. We also have a big group that works on marine and offshore technologies. And then these would come both from, civil and environmental engineering, as well as chemical and biological engineering. The urban solutions and sustainability, I would say this is very broad and cuts across all of our departments. Energy is a big emerging area for us, and lots of people are working in this. And these would include electrical and computer engineering, material science and engineering, mechanical engineering, chemical and biological, and also industrial and systems engineering. Robotics and machine intelligence, artificial intelligence, machine learning, as again, we have had traditional strength in this, and this is also becoming increasingly important in all areas of engineering. But robotics in particular has, we have a lot of people working in this particular area, from electrical and computer, mechanical engineering, as well as biomedical engineering, who are interested in soft robotics or robots for surgery and human applications and so on. Engineering in medicine, we have the Department of Biomedical Engineering, which plays a big role. But on top of that, electrical engineering has a lot of people working in this. And we actually have a new building coming up, so a lot of investment going on in this area. Satellite technology, we have a center related to satellite technologies helmed at the Department of ECE. Hybrid and flexible electronics, so this is a big thrust area within the university in general, and definitely within the Faculty of Engineering. Being a maritime nation, I guess, we focus a lot on our shipping industries, and the development of next generation ports is a big university-wide effort. that is sort of being led by our industrial systems engineering and management departments, as well as civil engineering. And another thing which is of big importance to Singapore and within the Faculty of Engineering is quantum engineering. Right? So this is related to quantum technologies, and in particular devising the systems that will enable quantum computation, quantum communications. In terms of peaks of excellence that we have within engineering, so there are lots of, so some of them are repetitions of the previous one. But then what I want to highlight here is that the close relationship that we have between our researchers, our academic researchers within the Faculty of Engineering and the industry. And this is highlighted based on what we have in Singapore are the corporate research labs. And these are research laboratories that we put up in partnership with industry organizations. And these research labs are long-term in the sense that they're usually 5 years. And the usual order of magnitude that we talk about is in the order of many tens of millions of dollars. Right? And here we have we actually, this just finished. So we had a corp lab with Keppel on maritime and offshore technologies. We have a corp lab with advanced materials and flexible electronics. In terms of urban solutions and systems, we have two. We have one with SEMCORP, which focuses more on energy issues. And we have a new one with Cisco, and this focuses more on information technology and how we apply networking solutions to solve, smart nation kind of problems. And on top of that, we have many joint labs with, for example, government organizations, such as this is with the Land Transportation Authority of Singapore, and this one is with a government organization, DSO. Right? And on top of that, we have research institutes related to health and energy and so on. So this one is with ExxonMobil. All right. So I just want to end on, so our research is not just academic. So even if you look at our academic performance, so it's really good. So for example, the average paper published from Faculty of Engineering gets about 8 citations per paper. So this shows you, the academic side of our things. But on top of that, increasingly, our students are not just interested in academia; they're also interested in let's say, technology commercialization and launching startups. So, usually if you see the graph of our startups that are coming up from the Faculty of Engineering, so these days we launch somewhere close to 100. So our students launch somewhere close to 100 startups or resulting in spin-off companies on the technology that is developed within the Faculty of Engineering. So that's something becoming more and more popular with our graduates. In terms of our admission requirements, so while on paper the minimum requirement says that you need a bachelor's degree with an honors and at least second class lower, but realistically, our admissions are quite competitive. We are looking, we usually taking students who graduate near the top of their class, maybe in the top 10–15% of their graduating class. We expect strong letters of recommendations from your undergraduate supervisors or other people that you have worked with. And if you have a publication record, at least one paper or two just to show, just because things are very competitive, right? That would make your application a little bit stronger. We also expect GRE, TOEFL, or IELTS scores, and we recommend that you take a GRE test. And in terms of our application portals, they're usually open. They're not just usually, they're actually open all year round, even though we have 2 intakes in August and in January. So you can put in your application anytime you want. We usually go through on a rolling basis. Every month we make decisions. And then, if you're successful, you'll be coming in the next August or in the next January. If you are looking for more information as well as links to help to connect you to the application portal. So this is our general graduate education webpage. And since here we are talking more about the research-based program, so there's a page within this folder which you can go to look at our more details about our research-based programs. And we also have our the link to the application portal right here. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Biplab. Although there's one question that you can help answer, but let me put it a little later.
Okay.
So because we want to, once the questions start, it goes non-stop, right? So I want to make sure everyone get a chance to speak first.
Sure.
Next will be Professor Pratik Saxena from the School of Computing.
Okay, thank you. Let me quickly share my screen. Okay. Okay, so thanks a lot. My name is Prateek. I'm in the Graduate Studies Office at School of Computing, NUS. And I will sort of just give you a broad overview of School of Computing. I will try to sort of focus more on the mission and what we are doing, as opposed to the procedural requirements for applying for admissions and so on and so forth, because they are out of sort of similar to what Biplab has just presented. Some of the programs are very similar, and the application procedures and timelines are very, very similar. You can just Google search for School of Computing PhD program, and you will get almost all of the requirements directly. Speaking about School of Computing as a faculty, I would like to say that the School of Computing is more focused on computing related research. And it's basically, we set ourselves the mission to define new frontiers in computing. And there are three ways that we do this. First, the department is constantly, the school is constantly looking out for the biggest opportunities related to computing. We have been sort of working on several things for the last 4 decades that are catering towards groundbreaking research advances. So that's a core thing that the PhD program, for example, in School of Computing is trying to achieve. And finally, it's about creating great new thought leadership and creation of new industry segments through the above two objectives. Structurally, the school has 2 departments within it, the Department of Computer Science and the Department of Information Systems and Analytics. So overall, we have more than 250 PhD students at any given time during at various stages of the PhD, from year 1 to onwards. And there are a number of major research centers now in School of Computing. I mean, it's very difficult for me to enumerate and list out all the collaborations that are happening. But to give you an example, Encrypt is a major center. AI.sg is a national initiative in Singapore focused on artificial intelligence. And most of it is actually grounded in School of Computing. And a lot of the faculty members here are very directly involved in shaping the direction of that initiative. The National Cybersecurity Lab, which is national infrastructure again, is housed at School of Computing. There are 3 major centers here focusing on blockchains. Perhaps the biggest by investment size would be Singapore Blockchain IP Lab. This is most recent, about less than 12 months old. The Singapore Data Science Consortium is housed at School of Computing. FinTech Lab is another recent initiative that's coming out of the Department of Information Systems and Analytics. This has been a very successful initiative in offering a variety of different FinTech-related courses. And there are many other centers, such as the Advanced Robotics Lab and others, which I will not spend time elaborating. In terms of partnerships, these centers put together are connected to all the major, both regional as well as international companies that align with these areas, including, for example, Grab, Singtel, and Google and others. So the default sort of admissions go through the MOE scholarships, which provide funding for students for 4 years, and subsequently students are funded by their advisors beyond the 4 years. But there are also a number of very attractive MOE scholarships that go beyond these MOE scholarships. So for instance, actually there are ongoing scholarships from Google, Microsoft Research, AI.sg, Facebook, the recently established Digital Finance Institute, and the PGF Fellowship. These are usually given on merit. So they're not always given to students at the time of admission. Some of these will be given on performance, certainly during perhaps closer to the late stage of your PhDs. And this is certainly true of perhaps the Microsoft Research and Facebook fellowships. Now, I guess I can spend a little bit of time trying to explain why School of Computing is a good place to spend a few years of your life at, right? And so the first thing I'd like to point out is, if you look at various rankings for global rankings for how School of Computing related research ranks globally, over the last sort of 3 decades, we have been in the top 20 by pure sort of measurements, high quality measurements of our publications. So if you look at CS rankings, which looks at the top 3 publication venues in each area of computer science, you will find that the aggregated outcome of that has been very good for SOC. But I think as you start to narrow down on more recent times, you will start to see that NUS is actually, and School of Computing is actually within the top 15, perhaps closer to the top 10. And many other rankings will actually list School of Computing's work in the computing field within the top 10. Faculty-wise, I would like to say that the faculty here is absolutely stellar. Some of the achievements of the faculty I'm just flashing here on the screen, including Prof. Limsoon. And you can see here that the AI's top 10 to watch, and test of time awards. So these are basically achievements that are given for very long-term contributions to the field. So these are not sort of yearly awards given for papers immediately written. These are recognizing long-term influential impact to the field, right? And you can see here that a number of faculty members have done extremely well in their own fields. And in fact, if I allow you some time to go and check out the news webpage for School of Computing, you'll see that continuously, year after year, there has been such progress. Now, another sort of good reason for why you might want to come to School of Computing, as opposed to other globally well-known departments and schools worldwide, is the breadth and the depth of the research that goes on here. School of Computing, I often describe to people as being a buffet-based system. It is a deep and broad research organization. And what that means is that we span a large number of topics that computing research has today. So this includes, for example, database, to security, to artificial intelligence, robotics, of course, theory, algorithms, logic. And you can see that it's a fairly well-balanced and distributed, a fairly well-distributed interest profile from publications and faculties, right? What that means is that if you have an interest in any of these topics, or even if you have an interest in something that you don't know right away, you can join the department, and over the period of, let's say, a year or two, figure out where your heart and your interest lies, right? We like to measure ourselves in terms of impact. So for research, for example, it's often in terms of theoretical results, there are major impact ways of measuring this. And this is by looking at what are the breakthrough theoretical results that are coming out. So there are several of these every year. But I would like to highlight, for example, one of them, which is this recent award received by the faculty for solving a long-standing problem related to parity games, right? And this is just one example of such results. If you look at the number of papers published by the faculty just this year in the top AI conferences, it's more than 20 papers, right? So Asia's top institution for AAAI is NUS at this point. In terms of systems research, so when you're actually building of artifacts and large-scale systems, there have been a number of outcomes from the faculty that are very well known. To give you an example, one of the projects from School of Computing has made its way into the Apache Incubator program, and this is called Apache Singa. Similarly, there have been various worldwide challenges organized, such as the one by NIST for doing privacy preserving temporal maps, right? And this was recently won by the team at School of Computing. And similarly, there have been very large scale sort of interesting outcomes coming our way. So I won't spend all my time here, but I encourage you to go and look at the news webpage for School of Computing. And at the end of the day, this matters because what you do in your PhD gets deployed sometimes into large-scale, widely used systems. So here is one example of a thesis work done by these two PhD students at the time, and their PhD thesis work finally made it to Skype and was eventually rolled out to millions and millions of users. So this is the sort of impact that you can have directly from your PhD work. Another sort of very big, interesting example are these various competitions that are being set up worldwide to sort of challenge the state of the art, and especially in the robotics domain, and the School of Computing team has done very, very well. Perhaps the third way to look at this is entrepreneurship. Really, School of Computing has been home to a lot of startups. It's difficult to put them all down on a web page and show you. So I thought that maybe I can just highlight a couple of examples, right? So one of these examples is a startup that came out with Prof. Chuatat Singh's lab, where the students came up with a technology based on machine learning and AI that allowed for visual discovery through images, right? And this has become a very successful startup, gone from one employee to more than 50 plus, and they have successfully integrated the technology and scaled up the system and started to attract a lot of venture capital funding. Finally, please keep in mind that what this department is trying to do is create leaders. We are trying to graduate thought leaders and the people who will forge the future of computing. And in that regard, the placements that the department is having just in the last maybe 5 years or so are stellar. So I've listed just a few examples here, ranging from people who have founded their own startups and taken on CEO roles at those companies, to placements for professorship at some of the top places worldwide, both in Europe and in the US. This is also complemented by placements in the best of academic research labs, as well as industrial research labs, such as Microsoft Research and Google. And at the same time, we are seeing a growing number of people sort of going back and forth between a mix of working within the ecosystem in Singapore and also in the more global international ecosystem in venture capital, for example, or in startup land. So we're very proud of the achievements. These are just some examples of what students are able to achieve within their third and fourth year. I guess one of the highlighting examples is a student who raised $52 million in funding for their idea directly from one paper during their thesis. And it became a sort of an instant success story for them. So broadly, I would like to welcome everybody to apply to School of Computing. The procedural requirements I can discuss in Q&A, and they are also on the webpage. but broadly they're similar to the ones that Faculty of Engineering has presented. And with this, I would like to close and hopefully take questions perhaps after the next talk.
Thank you, Pratik. So there are more questions on the Q&A. You can start typing them in. We will sort through them later. But let's Professor Heng Kiat from the School of Medicine to tell us about their PhD program now.
Okay, thank you, Limsoon. I hope you can see my slides now.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, right. So yeah, it's my pleasure to take you through the programs that we offer at the School of Medicine. So basically, the school is considered the oldest school in NUS because it was established in 1905. So we have about 116 years of history. The school started even before the country gained independence in 1965. So we have been ranked recently as the top medical school in Asia by both the ranking agencies, QS and Times Higher Education. And so the school has got both clinical departments and basic science department. And so the research here basically focuses on a lot of clinical medicine as well as basic sciences. The school has got 17 departments, but these are organized mainly for teaching purposes. So in terms of research, a lot of the research activities actually span across different departments. And so I think it'll be more relevant for us to consider, the research programs that we have in the school. So as a graduate student, you're more likely to be affiliated with a research program rather than with a teaching department. And so this research program, we call them TRPs or Translational Research Program, because a lot of this work that is being done is done with the aim to translate whatever research findings that we have into clinical practice. And so we have 10 such programs. There are 5 of them which are disease-based, and these are really focusing on the top killers in Singapore as well as in the world. So for example, cancer and cardiovascular diseases. So these are the top 2 killers in Singapore. And we have research program that is based on these 2, as well as, of course, healthy longevity, human potential, and of course, recently, a lot of attention on infectious diseases. Now, the other 5 are more of a platform-based kind of research program. So for example, in digital medicine, immunology, precision medicine, synthetic biology, and nanomedicine. Yeah, you notice that there are QR codes that I have put on the slide. And so if you want more info, you can always scan this QR code and then look for more information in the website. Well, to do good research, we need a lot of state-of-the-art equipment to do so. I mean, these days, a lot of technology has advanced and that has helped in the way biomedical research is being conducted. And so we have a long list of core facilities and infrastructures, such as if you are doing highly infectious viruses, then you'll need a biosafety level 3 lab, which is very few actually in Singapore, and NUS is one of them. And then a lot of imaging kind of facilities as well. And also for large epidemiological study, we have got tissue repository to study specimens from the various diseases and from patients. Some of these are actually quite new. I don't even know that they exist until I was preparing this slide and looking through the website, and oh, it's a long list of core facilities that we have in the school. Now, the main aim of the School of Medicine for training graduate students is basically to train them as competent biomedical scientists, right? So, and that's why the research program that we have is all research-based. We don't offer any coursework in the School of Medicine, except for the Master of Clinical Investigation, but those are mainly for the clinicians who are interested in research. But I think I'm addressing the audience here. I think mostly will be interested in doing a Master's of Science or PhD. And so that those 2 degrees are research-oriented and research-based. And the aim, of course, is to produce competent biomedical scientists. And for clinicians who join us, they will become competent clinician scientists as well. And these are really the forerunners in the field of medicine and biomedical sciences. And that's our aim. So to fund the students, we have a range of different fellowships. So the details are all in the website that you can scan. So the most prestigious, of course, is the President's Graduate Fellowship. And we do have faculty level study awards as well as NUS Research Scholarship from the Ministry of Education, and of course the Singer Scholarship. Admission requirement, of course, we need at least a bachelor's degree with very good results or a master's degree. And so for students who are coming from non-English medium universities, we will need them to take this English proficiency test, because lessons will be conducted in English and theses will be written in English, oral defense will be in English. So there's a need for a high level of English proficiency. GRE, preferably above 320 for verbal and quantitative, and 3.5 and above for analytical. So these are just the guidelines. Of course, admission will be dependent on the number of applicants, and usually only the very top will be admitted. The process of admission, of course, at the point of enrollment, the student can decide whether he wants to do a master's or PhD. But it's rather flexible. So for any master's student who comes into the program, at the end of the 2 years, the student can decide whether to upgrade to a PhD. And the process is just through a PhD qualifying exam. And if the student passes this exam, then he can go on to do a PhD. Well, and for PhD students, it doesn't mean that one is admitted as a PhD student means they'll remain in the whole curriculum, because at midpoint and at about the 2-year mark, there will be also a PQE, a PhD qualifying exam. And if a student doesn't do well, then he will not be able to carry on the candidature, but will have to exit with a master's degree. And so only those who clear this PQE will eventually get the PhD degree. Now, for international students, we have this lab rotation program, because we know that it's probably difficult for them to get in touch with our faculty to work out the research project. So we give them up to 3 months to go through as many as 6 lab rotations. So the student decide whether they want to spend 2 weeks or even up to a month in each lab. And at the end of the 3 months, then the student decide which lab they want to settle in to work out the PhD project. So these are for international students only. Okay. Now, in terms of coursework, of course, we want students to be not just knowledgeable in their own field of research, but at least to have a certain breadth in their understanding of the field that they're working in. And so there's a whole range of different modules that they can take. 2 of them are core modules, and that is biostatistics. And the other one is basically just a graduate seminar module. And so these are the 2 core, and then 4 others which are elective for PhD, and 2 electives if the student is working towards a master's degree. So recently, we have done away with the grading system, in a sense that students do not need to attain certain minimum grades to continue the candidature. The reason for this is that we want students to focus more on their research work rather than worry about getting top grades to clear this minimum cap requirement. And so it'll be less pressure on the coursework, and so that they have more time to engage in their research. And so we have just rolled that out last year, and we are expecting that this will lead to an increase in research output in terms of publications, patents, and innovation. So basically, as long as the student pass the module, they will be allowed to continue the candidature without having to attain a certain minimum grade for the modules. But on the other hand, for students who strive to do well in the coursework, we want to offer something more than just a PhD or a master's degree. So recently we have started to offer with the batch that has come in August this year, what we call the academic proficiency badges. So these are digital badges who are awarded to students who have selected what are the areas that they want to specialize in terms of coursework. And at the end of the candidature, if they meet the requirements for the award of these proficiency badges, they will be given one of this or up to two of these ranges of badges, which depends on which area they choose to specialize in. It could be in disease, okay, or it could be in terms of bioethics or pharmaceutical and drug development, for example. Now, besides NUS PhD, we also tie up with King's College London, and we have a joint PhD program. And so for applicants who are keen to have a richer experience in terms of spending some time in another university, in this case up to, it's at least 12 months at King's College, they can apply for this NUS and King's College London joint PhD program. And similarly, for those who want to have an experience working in Israel, then there is Hebrew University of Jerusalem joint PhD program with NUS as well. And for this program, the requirement is at least 6 months to be spent in Jerusalem. So we have 2 intakes per year. The next intake will be for the August. So the deadline for application is by 15th of November this year for next year's August intake. And then if we are hoping to come in 2023, so for the January intake deadline is on the 15th of June next year. Okay, so more details are in the website. Okay, this international body program is something new that we have just introduced to our students this semester, because we noticed that in the past, the students that have adjustment problem when they settle down in Singapore and in NUS are those who are from other countries. And so to take care of this group of people who may be feeling lost or feeling very disoriented after coming to Singapore, because of a huge cultural change and so on. We have this buddy system in which a senior student is assigned to each new student. And so it is not just a blind assignment. We provide a networking session in the beginning of the semester, and both seniors and juniors would meet up, and at the end of that session, it is the new student who will make the decision which senior buddy they want to have for themselves for at least the next one semester. And so this senior buddy will play the role of a bigger brother or bigger sister to assist the new student in settling down and to just check on them from time to time or have coffee, because our school do provide refreshment vouchers for them to go out for informal chat sessions. So this will be ongoing for a minimum of 1 semester, but if they like it and they want to continue to have this buddy relationship, then they are free to extend this program as well. Okay, next I'll just focus on some of the achievement of our graduate students. And so in recent years, we have got top performing students who win university level awards, which is the Chua Hua Memorial Gold Medal and the Wang Gangwu Medal and Prize Award for the best PhD thesis. In terms of publications, just highlighting the top few papers that have been published by our students. And so, for example, the top impact factor is by a student who is working in cardiology. So in this journal called Circulation, which has got an impact factor of 23. And then a few others as well, which has got very high impact in the various field of the research. And of course, there's a Nature review article that's also at impact factor of 44. So this just goes to just illustrate that we do have students who are able to be the first author in very high impact journals under the guidance of world-class researchers in the various fields that they are attached to. So I think that is my last slide, and yeah, I'll be happy to take any questions.
Okay, thank you, Kiat. We have about almost 1 hour to answer questions, but before that, since I'm the chair, let me also give a plug to the program that I am sharing. Let me bring up my slides first. Just a second. Okay, so I am representing the Integrative Sciences and Engineering program. This is a very special PhD program in NUS. Unlike other PhD program where which is based on each individual faculty, this program is independent of other faculties. It's not inside any of the regular faculties. It's directly hosted at the graduate school. And this program has a very special purpose. Its purpose is to serve as a platform for students who are crossing discipline or interested in transdisciplinary research. What we mean by that. So if you have a bachelor in the psychology and you want to do a PhD in computer science, so normally it may be hard for you to apply for computer science PhD program directly because your bachelor was psychology. Right? So the program, the ISEP, Integrated Sciences Engineering program, is designed for this kind of students. We particularly like students who are changing discipline or want to combine two different disciplines. And because we believe that real world problems, many of them needs expertise and skill from more than one discipline to solve properly. So if you're interested in the interdisciplinary work, or you are planning to look into a PhD degree in a different area, this may be the program you want to consider. So later you can visit the ISEP booth to find out more. And let me just stop here and begin the question answering. Okay, so we already have a list of questions posted on the Q&A. So let me take them one by one since we have 1 hour. The first question is from Prahasha. So he is asking, about the joint program, joint degree program between NUS and SUTD. I think this maybe Biplab is the best person to answer that, since this NUS SUTD joint PhD program is hosted at the Faculty of Engineering.
Yeah. So regarding your question, so what happens is at the end of the program, once the student has finished the joint PhD program, they will get a single certificate. And that certificate will have the coat of arms of both NUS and SUTD. Okay? A single certificate with the names of both universities in there.
And she wanted to know whether there is a difference between doing it in NUS and at
there is no difference. There is no difference. You would be co-supervised by professors. So you would have one or more supervisors from NUS, one or more supervisors from SUTD. It's just that you're recognized as having a home university, and usually the home university's name would come first. But in terms of academic rigor and so on, there's no difference really.
So I guess it depends on who you choose to be your main supervisor.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Biplab. So let me move on to the next question. It's from Chen Run. He is a student major in mathematics in Hong Kong Polytech, and he wants to know whether he needs TOEFL in terms of it to apply to the maths program, and whether he needs to GRE score and to write a research proposal. In Hong Kong, the instructional medium is English. So maybe Weizhu, you are the best person to answer this.
Okay, thank you for the question. So for TOEFL and IELTS, it depends on where you get your bachelor degree. If the university you get a bachelor degree, your bachelor degree is also in English. Yes, TOEFL and GRE can be waived. If your bachelor degree the university is not, the language is not in English. Only your master's degree is from Hong Kong Poly. In this scenario, we may need to check the policy from grad school. Yeah, and for GRE, yes, you need a GRE to apply PhD for PhD in mathematics.
Okay, and one last question from Zhen Run is when he can know the outcome of his application if he applies now.
Oh, if you apply now, this means you want to apply the August intake 2022. And normally you expect like in beginning of February, you could have the result.
Okay, thank you, Weizhu. I think that answers everything from Zhen Run. And next one is a question from Anap Ray. He wants to know how important it is for a prospective PhD student to get in touch with a professor he wants to work with, like before he apply, I think. I guess this one changes from school to school. Like the ISEP program that I represent, you don't have to contact any professor before you apply because we give you one whole semester to do lab rotation. Before, in that lab rotations, you can talk to many professors before you decide who you want to work with. Other departments will be different. So let me go through all the Weizhu and let them answer one by one. We can start with Kiat.
Yeah, so I think a lot of students will have this in mind. So of course, for School of Medicine, there's also a lab rotation for international students. And so there's no need for you to get in touch with any professors before you come. But having said that, I will always advise that students approach their potential supervisors. If they have identified a certain area and they have identified a certain person within that area of interest or research field of interest, it's always good to get in touch with the supervisor because number one, he may not have a vacancy for a student, right? So if you just put his name blindly in the application, it may turn out that he does not have any more vacancies to accept student, and therefore you may not get into his lab. And then you have to, go for lab rotation. So it's always better to get in touch. And also, it's also good to get a sense of the chemistry, right, between the student and the professor. So some professor may be someone that you hope to work with, but after talking to him, you may find that, there's not much of a match in terms of interest or in terms of the chemistry between you and the professor. So it's always good to explore before applying formally. Yeah.
Okay, maybe Biplab, you're next to answer the same question.
So within engineering, we would strongly recommend that you contact your prospective supervisor. So within engineering, most of the departments, what we expect is that, somebody should express an interest in working with you, and they are the ones who would do the first round of interview with you. If they are happy, then, they will recommend you to the department, and the department will then start off by further processing your application. Also, many times, it's the professors who have the scholarships associated with their research grants, or maybe they have been assigned a scholarship. So if you have, you make the first contact and you ensure that there is interest in proceeding further, that would help you along. So I would definitely recommend that you get in touch with the supervisor first.
All right, Weizhu,
Yes.
how about science?
Yes, at the Faculty of Science, in general, you are not required to contact a potential supervisor, especially for the common post scholarship. The admission is decided by the graduate program committee at the department level and approved by the dean's office. However, you are encouraged to contact some potential supervisor for, say, the different scholarship, for example, PDF, the presidential scholarship, or the industry relevant scholarship, or Senga, if you have a good match, which will helpful for your application when you get. Also, some professor may have a scholarship for research grant. Of course, also you connect with some supervisor. Again, the admission will be decided by the departmental level grant committee. It passes the bar.
Okay, Pratik.
Yes, I think not necessary to contact your potential advisor. We do allow the first semester and lab rotations to allow you to mingle with various groups and then see who you want to work with. But again, for all the reasons mentioned by other faculty members here, you see there is some advantage to, if you know who you want to work with for sure, and you want to make sure that that's your criteria for you joining that department, then of course it's worthwhile speaking to that individual faculty member. Sometimes it does open up a few avenues, like instead of hiring you through a particular pool of grant money, they may be able to recruit you through another. There are those options available. So I wouldn't say it's not a great idea, but I would just say that for different students, there are different requirements. Some people are very specific who they want to work with, and only then they will join that department, kind of thing. In that case, yes, definitely reach out, but otherwise you don't have to.
Thank you, Pratik. So I guess we have dealt with this question of whether to contact a supervisor in advance. General advice is yes, if you know who you want to work with, go ahead and talk to the person to make sure he is available. Sometimes he's too many students already, and he cannot take you, and he's too busy. So do talk to them if you have someone in mind. But otherwise, in many faculties, you have lab rotation and other ways before you decide. Okay, the next question is how competitive the presidential graduate fellowship is. It is the most prestigious graduate fellowship. So that one I have answered offline, but let me just, in case other people are interested, it is very competitive. Roughly 1 in 10 admitted PhD student will get that. And it is strictly merit-based, so it's not like every school get the same number. So if the school manage to, if there are more good students, strong student in a particular school, that school will get a little bit more than another school. Yeah, and there is enough of this prestigious scholarship to go around for every strong student. So next,
if I can, sorry, can I add something to it? Yes. So one thing to keep in mind is that you don't have to keep your eye on only the scholarships that you're getting on the point of joining. These scholarships can become available to you during your study. And there are a number of other very prestigious scholarships on the table that are also merit-based, but once you start to perform in whichever field you choose, you are eligible to get those. Yes. So I would encourage you to not sort of just say, hey, I didn't get the scholarship, or if I get the scholarship, I will go. Your outcomes can change drastically even after joining.
Thank you very much, Pratik. It is very true that many students can get upgraded after a while, yes. Okay, so next is a question from Ta. She said, to apply into a master degree / PhD in science, is GRE score still required with relevant work experience for someone who has graduated from an Australian university? So I guess Weizhu is Faculty of Science. You are muted. You are muted.
Sorry. So for applying master in Faculty of Science, GRE is not required.
Okay.
Well, for applying PhD in Faculty of Science, GRE is required. Yeah.
So that's clear enough. Even if you have work experience, you better go and get your GRE when you apply to Faculty of Science. Another question is from Jing Liu. He's a final year student in the Chinese campus of Technion, so very special. And she wants to do a PhD in CSI, Cancer Science Institute. And GRE is required, but because of the coronavirus, the test in China has been canceled. So she wants to know, if she cannot get the GRE grade, can he submit the grade later? I guess this one I can help to reply. In general, you can provide the GRE grade later, so long as it's before the time they make decision, which is usually, I think, January, February. right? Because the application deadline sort of close after a certain time, and then it takes them a month or so to go through. So long as you can get your grades to them before they make decision, it should be fine. Right? Anyone else in the school have other practices?
Well, at the Faculty of Science, for good students, we may allow you give the conditional offer. That means as long as you submit your GRE before you enroll in the NUS, that means before July, with the necessary the requirement for good students.
Okay. So anyone else want to supplement? So I think it's pretty clear. If GRE is needed, then you can provide it at a later time, at least before the decision is made. And sometimes the school may really like you. They will give you a conditional offer. You know, they say we will admit you provided you give me this GRE score at above a certain score by this time, right? We're good. I think so here's a question from Chen Tong. This is an undergraduate from NUS. Do I need to get a GRE score? So this one I can help answer. For student who undergraduate from NUS, NTU, SUTD, you do not need a GRE. It's waived in general. So is there any exception from the school? I think no exception.
At the FOS, if your bachelor degree or master degree from NUS or university in Singapore, seems GRE is a waiver so far.
Yeah, I think
also master degree.
Yeah, I think all the school is the same. Our own student definitely we know how good you are. We don't need the GRE to tell us. Yeah.
Yeah.
So Chen-Tong, that answer your question. Now, there's another student says that his CAP is very low, and he wants to apply for a master program in science. Can he still do that?
Okay, well, you're welcome to apply. The competition will differ at a different program. For some program very popular, they have capacity issue, for example, statistics or data science, machine learning, or quantitative finance. Normally very competitive. For some other program, they are new, then the number of applicants is not that significant, huge. So you may have a chance. So it depends on which program you apply.
Also, okay. If your undergraduate score is very low, score is just one index, but you have to prove your what you are good. You must good at something, right? If you're good at something, of course we still consider. You have to show, well, okay, you have done some great research project or whatever. You have to show something, right?
Okay, so I guess we have dealt with that questions. Let me look through the list of questions and see if there are interesting ones. Okay, so this next question from same Prahasa. So previously he asked about the NUS SUTD joint degree. Now he wants to ask if he wants to apply for the January intake. Application still open for this program?
I'm sorry, I think our applications actually closed the 1st of September.
All right, so you cannot apply for the January intake, but you can now you can try the August intake. Edward is asking a question to Kiat. So he wants to know about aspect of prospective student that emphasize is the ability to run specific lab apparatus or ability to theorize and philosophize and also the quality of research publications. The question is very long. Tricky, are you able to see the Q&A?
Yeah, I'm reading it, yes. Okay, so I think that the first part is not necessarily obtaining a scholarship, meaning that some students, yeah, we do accept students who are not on scholarship. So for example, if someone is working on a research project as a research assistant or lab technologist, for example, so this person in NUS lab can actually apply to be on the graduate program without a scholarship because he's already getting a salary from the research grant of the supervisor. Now, the second part of the question is, what do we emphasize on? So definitely not on being able to run specific lab apparatus because you're not training technicians here, right? So if you are expert in certain techniques, yeah, good for you, but that's not what we're looking for because it's more important that we train you on the way you think, the way you design your research rather than how well you operate certain equipment. And so, yes, so it's the number two of your question is the ability to theorize and philosophize and also the quality of the research publication. Yeah, I hope that answers your question.
Thank you, Triket. Okay, Zhen Run, I think he was the one that tried to apply to mathematics, right? So he said it's a research proposal needed for a PhD application.
Well, for apply math, to my understanding, in general, not needed. But if you have someone, if you have some proposal, maybe a little helpful for the grade committee to understand what you want to do. In general, not needed.
Yeah, I guess I can supplement a little bit here. For theoretical discipline, you do not need a research proposal, but you should still prepare a research statement, right, to explain what you're interested in. Why do you think you want to work on that topic, and why do you think you can be successful? So you need a statement to explain this aspect. Maybe other school, Pratik, in computer science, do we require a research statement? You're muted.
Yes. Yeah, yes, there is generally an expectation that a research statement will be required. In fact, if I may add, your GRE scores are not so important at the time of admission at School of Computing. We largely don't look at it, okay? We do very, very carefully look at your prior research exposure and your research statement together with your letters, right? So the research statement helps us identify what is it that you want to do and why is it that you're doing. This also relates to a question on the Q&A. Somebody from statistical physics wants to apply their knowledge into machine learning. And so again, this kind of a candidate would be sort of welcome at School of Computing, especially if they can articulate in their research statement that this is what they want to do. So a number of faculty members will look at this and say, okay, I know that I can target a certain kind of problem with such a student's background, right? So I encourage you to actually pay attention to your research statement a lot.
Okay, thank you, Pratik. How about engineering?
Yeah, we don't require you to define the exact problem, but we do encourage and we actually require a research statement again. So this is just to give a broad, idea about where you're coming from, what would you like to explore, just like Professor Saxena was mentioning. So we do want a research statement.
I guess medical school is the same practice.
Yeah, I said yes. Sorry, I was muted.
Okay, good. So I guess it's universal. All the schools are practicing the same in terms of needing a research statement. I'm now looking at the question from Royston, which is also related to research statement. So he asked, as undergraduate applying for a PhD program, how can we use a research statement to effectively showcase our ability to conceptualize good research questions? For letter of recommendations, what are the key elements admissions look for? So I guess different school has slightly different practices, but largely the same. So maybe I start with Weizhu again.
Well, this statement depends on the area. Of course, if you like to do chemistry, biology, or physics, right, you may know some show what your interest. If you mathematical statistics, well, it's maybe it's broad, or you may just say what you are interested for some area. If you're not a clear mind, the other maybe you look at the so-called US Faculty of Science webpage to find those research groups in different area. Find some area you are interested. Not say what you want to do, but which area are you interested.
Maybe Pratik, you can answer next the second part, which is for the letter of recommendations. What do you look for?
I think the letter of recommendations is sort of straightforward. Faculty members, if they know your letter writer, that will always play a bigger role. If it's a letter writer who has some standing in research, that will always play a bigger role. Secondly, often letter writers will highlight what you have done in like a research project, or either in the class where you're outstanding. So some of these sort of indicators are what the letter writers, what the admissions committee will look for in a letter writing scenario. Most letters for, I would say the rejected applicants will just say, oh, the student did well in class. That's usually not considered a signal for high quality research. So that's not what you're looking for. You're looking for some experience and some evidence of research potential.
Thank you, Pratik. Zuowei or...
Yeah, okay. I think, okay, for research statement, say many students that you are just got your undergraduate degree, first degree, and you're applying for PhD. I don't think many professors or many people who look at your file expect you have a really detailed research proposal. I have a project. I know how to do step by step. But because most time you come to PhD you get into PhD program to learn how to do research. On the other hand, your statement, we want to see through your statement, see your attitude, and also maybe you. Like I think nowadays many of our undergraduate students also have some kind of research experience. Okay, this kind of thing we want to see whether you know yourself, what you are good at, what you want to learn. I think that part is more important. I don't think many people expect you have a really great research kind of proposal that can do everything, because you come here to learn how to do research most of the time. Okay, thank you. For the letter, of course, you want to find a professor who know what you are good, why you are good. Okay, of course, we look at every letter very serious. Thank you.
Thank you. So I guess medical school and engineering will agree, right? You don't have any
yeah, nothing extra, just that, we also, I particularly personally, I would look for, evidence in the letter that shows you can work independently, you show the initiative and things like that.
Okay, so let us move on to the next question. Okay. So the next question is Kersin. I think he's thinking of applying to School of Medicine for PhD. And so he asked, do you accept general GRE score, or do you need like GRE in biology and chemistry?
Well, as far as I know, that I don't think there's a GRE for biology and chemistry. Not sure whether she's confused with SAT, but GRE is general. Yeah, we don't need any specific.
We don't need the subject GRE.
Yeah,
we need the general GRE. Okay, so good, clear answer. Then Chunwei Lim. So he is a graduate student from NTU, our Nanyang Technological University. He wants to apply for PhD program in School of Computing, and I guess he's asking whether what's the difference between IS and CS, the two different departments.
So I guess that's a good question. computer science department, I think, is the more, it's the larger of the two departments and is more focused on computer science. Information systems and analytics department has a mix of what I would describe to you as a business plus a computing mix, right? So the department is focused on information systems, and therefore the subjects are more oriented towards sort of applied in that dimension, towards a sort of like a business angle to it. So that's the main difference. Computer science would be more sort of closer to mathematics of computing and sort of the traditional system side of courses, right? You know, operating systems, compilers, and so on and so forth, right? So that said, there is some overlap, especially in, I think, the machine learning analytics domains and so on. So even fintech, I would say, right? So there are some overlaps between the two, and you have to actually look at the faculty profiles and see where your interest largely is.
Okay, thank you, Pratik. So the next question is the last one on the Q&A list currently. So this is Nasim. He's from Kazakhstan. He has a master in data science. And his English score is 7.5, but GRE is 313, so below the 320 cutoff. So he wants to apply for PhD, and he wonder whether he needs to retake his GRE until he gets higher than 320. He's interested in AI, variable electronics, and quantum computing. That means, I guess, FOE, SOC, and FOS have to answer. Maybe we start with Biplab.
Yep, so you can definitely apply now, and we will consider your application. I would encourage that you retake your GRE and try to take your scores upwards.
Okay, Pratik?
Yeah, I think as I said, GRE we don't look at very carefully, but you should submit whatever you have. Yeah, so we don't look at it too much, but then there needs to be something else in the application package that suggests that you have done some experience in this space, yeah. Especially if you have a paper or something, as you're mentioning, that would be a very strong indicator.
Yeah, especially because we are not familiar with Kazakhstan, so it's hard for us to read your CV. Yeah, so you better have something that can make clear your strength.
Okay. Let me say something. GRE, we don't look at it very much. If you beyond thresholding. Okay. I mean, I think we maintain the thresholding, but after your thresholding, we are not going to say all the people by their grade to admit. Okay, we look at many other things, but thresholding, I think that's a pretty firm in many cases. Okay.
Weizhu, you want to comment?
Well, for FOS, you'd better to retake the GRE to make sure you reach the 320 minimum score, the cutoff threshold.
Okay, thank you. So because this area is kind of very broad, it's hard to tell. So you have to check out the individual programs, yeah, because we don't know you are interested in quantum computing, variable electronics, or something else. Yeah. Okay. So okay. There's a question from Sakshi Kazat. So I guess the name is Iranian Kazat. So she says, she has a review paper. So is that sufficient to consider as a publications? I do not know which program she's interested in, so maybe otherwise they can answer. Maybe we start in medical school.
Yeah, of course, better than none. Even if it's a review paper, it still shows how well you can put forth your thoughts, yeah, in the field.
Okay,
it's better than none.
How about engineering?
Yeah, I would echo the same sentiment. I think it's better than none, but hopefully if you had a research, like a research paper, that would have had more weight, it would carry more weight.
Yeah, so I see Pratik also nodding, so you have anything?
Yeah, I think nothing to add. It's the same.
Okay, you have a review paper. It's of course it's a publication, but okay. we are not only looking at the publication, we look at the quality of the publication. Okay, it all depends on what the paper you write. If this is a review paper, it shows your wide understanding of a certain subject. Of course, it's a plus, right? Because you're getting into the area, you already understand very well. It is a plus, okay. But if someone write a lousy paper, then that does not mean much, right? That's all depend on quality of the publication, not just the publication is important. Yeah.
Okay, so I think the question is sufficiently answered now. We can move to Frederick. Frederick said, I graduated from a bachelor degree in Australia without honors. So he found it difficult to do some research with such a background. So he wants to apply for Master of Computing specialized in AI. Is GRE required? So it's master degree. I guess Pratik, you can take it up.
Yeah, so for masters, I think the GRE I mean, again, you should take it, but if you don't have it, it's also okay. It will be considered. But then other indicators of performance at the academic level will play a bigger role. And yes, your idea of sort of doing a master's first makes a lot of sense. Yes.
Yeah, good advice. So let me look for another interesting question. Oh, okay, this is an interesting question. Tang Chun Yap says that data science and machine learning is offered by Faculty of Science, and AI and business analytics is offered by School of Computing. So both of them have AI and machine learning in the title, right, in the program. So which one should we choose? What is the difference? So maybe Weizhu and Weizhu go first, and then Pratik can follow up.
Okay, so data science and machine learning is a master program offered by Department of Mathematics in collaboration with Department of Statistics and Data Science and Department of Computer Science from School of Computing. 3 partner departments co-running this program. And for more information of the program, you can go to the program webpage to see what kind of modules, what kind of information for the program.
Yes, I think one of the things, basically look at the module structure. And if you're applying, for example, the PhD in this topic, right, you have to, I think, start to look at more narrowly at what are the faculty members doing? What is the research paper and direction of that group, right? I think that will help you decide whether you make an application on this side or that side.
Yes.
Okay,
So,
I think these 2 programs, they are 2 master programs. Then we're talking about 2 master programs by master by course. I think the data science and machine learning offered in the science, they're work with the computer. So because you deal with data science, you have to have some computer knowledge, but they also more emphasize the mathematical and statistical analysis part of the data analysis. And on the other hand, I believe the program offered in the School of Computing joined with the business, they also give you some basic, but at the same time, they more emphasize the application to the business analytics. Okay, this they have the different focus. Of course, machine learning is very broad. Okay, the machine learning can apply to everywhere, but it's very broad. In the science, they emphasize on the mathematical and analysis kind of skill. At the same time, make sure give you enough computing skill to deal with the real life problem. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to explain. I agree with this assessment as well.
So maybe one simple advice to you is, if you cannot decide at the moment, you can apply both. Then leave the decision later, you get more information. If you get offers from both programs, then you do a tough decision later, not now.
good advice.
Very smart.
Yeah, and by the way, that NUS also have a data science PhD program. It's offered by the Institute of Data Science. So do visit their booth later if you're interested in a PhD in data science. Let me look for another interesting questions. Oh, okay. This one is not about PhD. It's from Lucia Cao from Philippines. So she is interested in the MSc in biodiversity conservation and nature-based climate solution. What kind of work and academic opportunities are available in Singapore after graduating from the program? I am not sure whether Weizhu, you know
Yes.
about this. Otherwise, we will direct her to the faculty booth.
This program is offered by the Department of Biological Science at the Faculty of Science. And this year, so this AY, so this year is the first year with first intake. So from the information program, students graduate from this program, students can go like in Singapore, like go to national parks, go to some kind of green energy in finance, or like conservation of ocean, conservation of what this kind of related jobs.
Yeah, so it's a new program. So
Yeah.
I think the best thing is you visit the Faculty of Science booth to find out more directly from those people like running this program. Okay. Oh, here's a question from Mabel Fu. Is there a GRE score for application to science and medicine PhD application? I guess the cutoff is the same, right? 320. Yeah, so I guess we answered that already for Mabel. And, okay, now it's a question from Abhinaya. She is a BDS graduate with 1 year of experience in general dentistry from India. So she said, I am now willing to do fellowship in specific field along with part-time job in general dentistry. Is she eligible to apply for master coursework program in MDS? Kiat, would you be able to answer this one?
No, I don't think I can answer on behalf of dentistry. I would suggest that she visit the dentistry booth.
Okay, so do visit the dentistry booth. And okay, here's Prahasa. He asked about the joint degree program earlier on SUTD and US, but I think his question is general. Can he apply for scholarship after joining PhD program? So initially a student come in without scholarship, but maybe halfway through, can he apply for scholarship? Is that feasible in any of our schools?
So I think in the specific case, if they're interested in doing AI-related research, it is feasible. So there are certain fellowships where our existing students can go in and join. And the other option is, sometimes our faculty members, they get research grants, and those research grants come with scholarships. And if you happen to either know such professors or by chance you're working for such a professor, then it's possible that you can switch over to a research scholarship subsequently in your tenure as a student.
I just want to add, because I don't know what's the premise behind the question, but generally when you are admitted, for example, in School of Computing, there is a steady source of funding to see you through, at least for the first 4 years. I mean, that's the way it's planned out at the time of making the offer. So maybe, yes, you can, I think there are various competitive fellowships that you can eventually get nominated for, but you shouldn't worry about, what happens to source of funding, let's say in your second or third year of your PhD. So definitely, please don't worry about, I'm admitted, will I have funds? Do I have to apply for a fellowship? No, none of that will be necessary.
Yeah, I think it is true. In NUS, when we admit a student, in general, we provide a scholarship to that student. and it's up to 4 years. Then after the fourth years, if you are still haven't finished, you talk to your supervisor to see how you can help. So it's very, very unusual for us to take in a student without a scholarship.
Yeah, okay. If in case the student come in as a self-funded student and they did not get a scholarship, you come as a self-funded student. In that case, if you want to really with the second year or later, you can have some support. That I think it was answered by Professor Biplab. It's essentially either your supervisor have a get a grants and he has, or maybe they have some kind of special scholarship like AI or whatever. Sometimes they do have some call. You want to university have an additional scholarship for this particular case, chance is not big. Okay, that's true.
Yeah. Maybe at the Faculty of Science, we do admit some self-funded students for PhD, very limited, very some students, but they must again with the reach the admission requirement due to that good, but we don't have enough scholarship. And some of them may get scholarship later due to grant or to some other chances. But if you are admitted by self-funded PhD, you need to prepare to pay the tuition fee and your living cost for the whole period. There are some chances, but not too many.
Yeah, it is. If you have to pay your own fees, it's very expensive. So okay, let me move on to a different question. So this question is from a student who has a BTech computing from NUS, but no research experience. So he wants to ask Pratik, how would School of Computing view him if he applies to the Master or PhD program? So he has a NUS BTech computing.
Yeah, I think we will always look at our own students favorably, because obviously we are set up the program, we know how rigorous it is and so on and so forth. So if you have done well in our undergraduate program, definitely it's a very big plus. That said, I think if you still have to articulate why research, why PhD, what's driving you towards this. If it's just yet another student who was not thought clearly about why they want to do a PhD, then and if that's obvious from the letters and so on and so forth, then obviously it's not going to make a difference. But obviously, compared to any other university's degree, we will look at our own degree and hold that to a gold standard.
Oh, okay, good. So this, I think, Dell is asking a question that I think will be of general interest. So he asks, how long do I need to study for a PhD in NUS to get after, and he has a master degree in mainland China. So he comes with a master degree and then he wants to study PhD. How long do you think he will take? He didn't say what discipline. I guess in different discipline, the length may be different. So maybe I'll get all the deans to help answer this. Would Biplab like to start?
Sure. So in the Faculty of Engineering, our average time is 4.xx years. Let's say it's less than 5 years, somewhere between 4 and 5 years, but closer to 4.
Okay, and then medicine.
Yeah, so no difference, because whether the student come with a master's or bachelor, it's still after all a PhD project. So it'll take typically about 4 years in medicine.
Okay, Weizhu?
Well, at the Faculty of Science, normally it's majority students finish at 4 years, but some students with master's degree, they could finish at 3 or 3.5. Of course, some students maybe 4.5 or 5 years.
Yeah, and then computing?
I guess minimum of 4 and maximum of 7.
Yeah, the variance is very big and it seldom depend on whether you have master or not. It depends really on the project that you have.
It's also depends on you, right? I mean, if you come here, you finish the course fast, you get a great research result, of course you can finish fast. But most of the students take 4 to 5 years to finish their PhD in NUS. Yeah, doesn't matter. They had a master or they did not have a master before they come. Yeah.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
Okay, sorry, Limsoon. I just want to add that for those with a master's degree, if there is any course, work, or modules that are relevant, they can apply for a waiver so that they don't have to spend that amount of time to redo certain modules in the program. So that will save them some time and they can spend that time on their research instead.
Yeah, I think I was going to add the same point, basically.
Okay.
Yeah, and also just keep in mind that if your master's is perhaps in the same research topic that you're doing, obviously that will also further cut down the time to search for an advisor and settle on a topic.
Yeah, in fact, just last month, one student asked me, is he allowed to submit the thesis? He just finished the second year. So we were like, wow, congratulations, you are one of the exception. But he is an exception. Most students will do somewhere between 4 to 5 and sometimes a little bit more than 5 years. Yeah. Okay, so here is a question from William. William is from Ghana, so very unusual place for us. So he has a Bachelor of Science Education in Industrial Chemistry from the University of Cape Coast in Ghana, second upper. And he wants to apply for a degree in chemical engineering. He has both research experience and appealing scholastic record. Does he still need GRE as a requirement? I guess.
Yeah, we do require applicants to put in a GRE.
Yeah, especially, we are not very familiar with Ghana. So I think that some international benchmark will help like that case. But okay, okay, this is from Chun Yap again. So he says, would you say someone who have a strong interest in academic study, have good grade in project-based courses, have published conference paper during the undergraduate study, but only second class result overall? I mean, probably he means his degree is a second class honors. Are you still comfortable to take in this student or prefer first class student? I do not know which faculty he is referring to, so maybe all of you will have to answer this. Maybe Kiat, you can start.
Yeah, so it's not the end of the world if you have a second class lower. Based on our admission history, we have admitted students with second lower or even third class honors. And I think even 1 or 2 without even honors degree. But the key thing is that these students who are being admitted showed very strong research performance in terms of first author publications in their field. And so based on that, we do consider, so we are not really strict on they must have a second upper and above. For those who are below the threshold, we do consider other factors, and research publication would be a very strong indicator of the potential of the student.
Yeah. Engineering, you have a same.
Yeah, a similar thing. I think if you have publications, that will definitely help you. And also, it as was mentioned earlier, it also depends on the quality of your publications. If they're at good venues, if they are in the top conferences, definitely it'll be helpful towards your application, and they will push towards acceptance irrespective of your, in that case, your second class doesn't matter so much.
Yeah. Computer science.
Yeah, I think let me say something. Okay, when we look at the when applicants, we look at the whole package. We don't only look at one thing, like whether you're second class honor or first class. Okay, we put everything together, then we look at it. Of course, it's also merit based, also competitional based. If there are many very excellent students, 5 very good, of course we pick that. So don't worry about one particular thing. Okay, well, I'm a second class honors, not a first class. That's does not decide everything. Okay, all it depends on the whole package of you. Okay, your research experience, your other things also help. Yeah, they just submit and a committee will look into, because we don't know what kind of other applicants are, right?
Okay, so Pratik or
Yeah, I have nothing much to add. I would just like to say research paper will matter. And really, I mean, don't discount it. Just submit and let the committee decide.
so I guess Weizhu agree.
Yes.
Well, so let me look for another interesting question. Okay, so this one is from UD. So he graduated from electrical engineering background, and I guess he has started working as a machine learning engineer and for 4 years already. So will this kind of experience support him when he apply for a PhD program in computer science? First of all, I have to tell this student also, you can consider computer science, but also department, in electrical and computer engineering, because both of this school has PhD program that are suitable for people interested in machine learning. So Pratik, maybe you answer first.
Yes, so I mean, really, people with experience are also welcome. I've just last year we hired somebody with about, I think, 15 years of experience at various companies, including Google. Came from electrical engineering background, software engineer eventually, machine learning eventually, and so absolutely, please apply. It will be looked at in aggregate with all the indicators in place.
Biplab, you want to add anything?
I agree completely with you. We do have quite a number of professors working in the AI machine learning area, and you're more than welcome to apply to Department of Electrical and Computer Engineering. And of course, your experience in this area would be a strong point in your application.
Okay, I think we are almost out of time. So let me just look for one last question. Oh, okay. This one can be interesting and general so this is from Ta. She say, I understand we need to indicate a research area or potential supervisor when applying for a master or PhD program in science. Would he be given a chance to explore or change the area of research after enrolling into the program? So can a person after being admitted and assigned a supervisor change supervisor or change area?
So at the for master degree, for master, there are no need to fix a supervisor. For PhD, normally you need only fix your supervisor by the end of the first year. Of course, it's possible to change. When you apply, you only indication. That's not the official choice of supervisor. Even you choose a supervisor, it's possible to change later. For example, not engage well, but of course, when you want to change, try to make it a mature change. To make a to do a smooth change it's good to every party.
Yeah. So yeah, I think the general advice is if you change within the same area, usually no problem. But don't change too late. You should change as early. If it doesn't work out, you should change as quick as possible, because you only have like 4 to 5 years, right? So if you change at the 4th year, then it's like last minute you change everything, very dangerous. So you don't change that too late. And but if you want to change area, that may be more difficult. So I think let me just take the last 3-4 minutes to ask all the deans if you have any other thing that you want to say to our attendees. Maybe it's at medical school.
Yeah, when in doubt, we are always there to answer your questions. So do reach out to us, get the link from our website, and then whatever questions you have, just feel free to ask them before you apply.
Biplab?
We encourage all of you to apply, and if you have any questions, you can reach out either to the Dean's office via me, and you can also look through every individual department, and they usually have a coordinator who takes care of the graduate programs. You can also ask through them if you want to be linked to any particular professor based on your area of interest and so on. But we're always here to help you with your application process as well as answer any questions that you may have.
Okay, Weizhu, anything last thing you have to say?
Yeah, well, welcome all of you to apply, and we are always there for answer your question. And of course, if you have specific question, you can reach the program. And if you have general question, you can reach the Dean's office.
Pratik.
Copy that.
Zuowei, anything to summarize?
I would on behalf of the NUS Graduate School, I would like to thank everybody to participate in this forum, and I look forward to see some of you next year, this time. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, and thank you for coming. For the students, if you have, I know we can only answer so many questions, and there are still a lot that we haven't answered. The best thing is that you visit the booth of the different faculties and pose the same question there to the administrator or other professor in the booth. I'm sure they will be able to answer most of your questions as well. Okay, so thank you, everyone. Goodbye.
Thank you.